So, guys, quick fire question. Based on last episode, have you guys been attempting any speedrunning stuff?
Yes.
What
No,
have you done? Well, no.
I've not had time.
Well, it's not fast enough, man. You have to be faster.
You know what I did the other weekend anyway. Where was I
Well, yeah,
going to
you
fit
should
that?
you should have speedrun the mountain, which we'll talk about later.
All right, go on,
So,
Chris.
Chris, what did you speedrun?
Well, I've been speedrunning RE4, or at least trying to.
How was that
That's
going?
pretty much. It's been pretty much my entire life. I've finished it so many times. I'll be honest. The last I seen it's probably changed now, but the last I looked, the world record time is like 3.5 hours. I managed to do it in 3 hours and 35 minutes. I was a bit miffed. I didn't get it.
Somewhat. So you literally could have very close doing it.
Yeah, I know where I've gone wrong and where I could have saved time, like without glitches and that. Because I've seen like some reason like online, there's like so many people like trying to skip parts, but they're all a bit dodgy, and I'm pretty sure most of them have been patched out already.
Which
This is just like legit, like no skips.
which bit could you have saved time on? Which was the bit?
I could have got like because I'm like doing it like a like new game plus file. Like I could have got the unlimited rocket launcher earlier,
Oh right.
and I didn't. I did like the first two chapters I think without it before I went adoy. Could have done it.
Right.
But,
Okay.
I've not like tried again since. It's like I got the platinum trophy in it. I was like, I need to put this game down now. I've now finished this game like 12 plus times. I need to stop. I'm starting to see like the hood in my sleep. What about you, Brandon?
So, literally, as just to put into context, so as we finished recording our episode with Weldy, I then proceeded to talk to Chris about, okay, what emulator is good for the PS1 because there's so many good PS1 games which you can speedrun. Like, so many of them are just absolute classics. So, I got the emulator up and running and I got Duck Station and I'd re-downloaded Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, which is one of my favorite games on the PS1. Absolutely fucking adore that game. But for the speedrunner community, it is a very infamous game. Purely, so there was a YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but they basically said that when the first sort of speedruns of Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories come out, guess what was the top 5 times for Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories non-glitched?
Like 20
Non-glitched.
hours.
Yeah, so
2.5.
no manipulation. How quick do you think the speedruns was without manipulation? The top 5.
I don't know. 8
I better be
hours.
something ridiculous. I better be something like 15 minutes.
So the rank 1 was 12 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Rank 2 was 21 hours.
Yeah.
And then rank 3, 4, and 5 were unfinished.
Yeah.
So it was very infamous, this game, because there's so much RNG factors in it. So like every card drop is based on like a percent chance. So I think it's like of something out of like a 2048 chance that a card could drop or something like that. So for example, you might have a 16 out of 2000 chance of a card dropping or an 8 out of 2000 chance of a card dropping. So you've literally got to keep farming and farming until you get these specific cards. So for the speed run, it's all relying on getting dragon and thunder cards to be able to fuse twin-headed thunder dragons. And once you've got that, you can then start to get the equipped cards like Megamorph, Dragon Treasure, Bright Castle, etc. But you've literally just got to do a constant grind of like fighting Rex Raptor until you get all the dragons and thunders. Then you have to fight Shizu until you get enough dragon thunders and power-ups. Then you've got to fight Pegasus until you get enough power-ups, and then you can literally go through. And even after doing all that, with the RNG bullshit of trying to get the right cards, it's probably got one of the most famous boss sequences in any video game called the Final Six, or depending on how you do it, the Final Seven. Because basically in this game, technically after every fight, you can save and go. Obviously, if you fail a fight, you go back to your previous save point. However, on Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, the Final Six has just the most amount of bullshit card mechanics in the world. So usually when you play Yu-Gi-Oh, you've probably got, on this game, you've got 5 cards in your hand. Every one of these final 6 have 20 possible cards in their hand. So they've already got half their deck ready to play against you. Their strongest card is Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, which they can just summon for turn 1. They've got all the equipped cards in the world. Even if you put a card face down, they know what it is. It's just so hard to do the final 6, especially if you're speedrunning and you're having to get through the final 6 without dying, because that final 6 sequence takes about half an hour, makes it infamous. So last weekend, I did an unofficial speedrun off stream where I just wanted to have a go at doing it. And I'd done it in about 6.5 hours, which I am kind of happy about. But at the same time, there are now people doing it like non-manipulated in like just a couple. Like I think one of the quickest is this Japanese guy who did it in an hour and a half. He just got so lucky. Like every fight gave him the exact card he needed, and then he did it. Whereas sometimes you might play the game, do 20 fights and not get a single card you need. So yeah, that's what I was up to after, Weldy inspired me to do speedrunning. So yeah, thank you, Weldy.
Funny enough, I thought about, I think it was the day after it was literally the day after we recorded with Weldy. I was like, oh, a game I could have mentioned about speedrunning is Bloons Tower Defense 6, because they have like a few, they have like interesting challenges on that. But then I watched I think it was either today or yesterday, I watched a YouTube short about the game. And it was like, oh, it's interesting about how all the speedruns on every map are about the same amount of time. It's because the balloons spawn at the same rate on near enough every map more or less. So you can't really make the balloons spawn faster. You can just pop them as quick as you can, and that's all you can do. You can't make them spawn any faster than they already do.
See, because I remember, like, did you guys used to do the same thing? Like in secondary school during IT, would you go into like game websites like Miniclip and stuff like that?
Yep.
So do you remember like the old Bloons Tower Defense games on there? Like Bloons Tower Defense 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
I used to fucking love playing those. And I remember like all of our friends, we were just like, right, we've only got half an hour of lunch. Let's see if we can complete Bloons Tower Defense by the end of lunch.
They're all on Steam. All the old ones are on Steam.
Yeah, no, but I was like thinking, like when we were like 12, 13, 14, 15, back in the days. Oh, that was so good. Bloons Tower Defense, Lemonade Stand, that was fun. What was it? Cool Maths Games or something like that?
Yep, Cool Maths Games.
Oh, those were the days.
Welcome to Victory Achieved Podcast, a video game podcast. I am Dan, and I'm with Brandon and Chris.
Sup, bitches?
Hello, regular people.
Oh yeah, that too.
We love everyone who listens. It's been I'll be honest, it feels like it's been forever since we last recorded. Although it's the same amount of time as always. I think it's because we had Weldy on last week, the last time, and so it felt like forever since it's just been. Well, it has been. It's been like a month since it was just us three. So it definitely feel it.
Time's just been going too fast since we did the speedrunning one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, in that time, Brandon and I, we climbed another mountain.
Yeah, we went on a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Basically. And by the way, fuck Preston.
Gosh.
I had to get that out of my system. I had to get it out of my system.
To be honest, I wasn't that impressed either. But yes.
So I'm going to have to interject and say, what was so bad about Preston, lads?
Right, where do we begin, Dan?
Well, everything. It just didn't really look nice.
Nah, like how every city has that one street which looks a bit run down, dejected, and could use a bit of, council money to try and like refurbish everything, yeah? There's always that one street, yeah?
Brandon, we live in Leicester. Every street looks like that.
No, this is where it gets freaky. Preston is, oh my fucking god, it looks like a war happened there and would have made the place look better.
Gosh.
It was, because we were driving through it. We were literally on the way to Scafell Pike, which is where, up in the Lake Districts. And we bypassed Preston because of the car overheating, because of the shitty traffic. So we ended up going through Preston. And me, Dan, and Priyesh, loyal listener, we were going through it. We were just like, what the fuck is this town? Like, what happened? And because obviously all the stand-up comedians like I've ever watched always joke about Preston being shit. I can see why. I hand on heart, I always thought Peterborough was shit. Now it looks like a fucking nature reserve.
Yeah, I was not impressed either. I thought it was pretty bad. There were buildings that literally felt like the Resident Evil 1 manor.
It did.
I remember I took a wrong turning because my sat-nav just confused me. And then I made a turn and I literally looked at a building and I was like, that's from Resident Evil, isn't it? It was ridiculous.
You're selling me on this. The idea of going to the Spencer Mansion sounds like a nice little holiday.
Oh, yeah. But I guess other than that, we went to the Lake District and we climbed Scafell Pike. I did climb it last year for the first time, so it was my second time. And Brandon and our mate did it for their first time. And how did you find it?
Okay, so if So I think a few listeners can understand when I say this, and I think you can as well, Chris. Think of Dark Souls. Yeah, think of like Dark Souls 2, for example.
Yeah.
So Dark Souls 2 has a very long time before you get to that first boss fight, doesn't it, compared to Dark Souls 1 and 3? Yeah?
I suppose, yeah.
It sort of eases you into it, basically. Whereas a game like Dark Souls 1, where you get the Silent Demon at the very beginning, is like, oh, fuck me, I'm in a bit of trouble. Same for Wolong. You know how hard that first boss is in Wolong? You're like, oh, fuck me, I'm in trouble. That is how I can describe Scafell Pike compared to Snowdon. Snowdon, even though it's, I'd say, significantly taller than Scafell Pike, it has like a bit of a tutorial to get you going. Whereas Scafell Pike, you've basically got half of a field, then you're like, right, let's up this incline to about 70 degrees. And just from the very beginning, it was just pain. Absolute pain, just like constantly just going uphill on slippery, loose rocks. At first, Dan, you know, when you first described Scafell Pike, I thought you were mainly describing it as like just sheer gravel the whole way up. It was for like the middle and then the upper bit. For those first bit, it was just constant just steps. But what didn't help is that steps were wet because there was that river right at the start.
Yeah.
And they were loose. And on the way down, that was fucking dangerous. That was so dangerous on the way down. Like, on the way up, I had an asthma attack. I nearly had an asthma attack on the first third. My chest actually packed in. But then the random thing is like my asthma just disappeared after that first third, which was very strange. But yeah, even though it was about 12, 13 degrees, it was still getting really that hot. The wind was lovely though when it did get through. But yeah, Scafell Pike, I'd say compared to, as you know, when you first did them, Scafell Pike is definitely harder than Snowdon just because of how steep it is and how basically punishing it is. Like, me and Priyesh, we didn't actually get to really enjoy the scenery because for the whole way up, we were basically looking at our feet to make sure we were stepping on solid ground. If you want a really good like leg workout, please go to Scafell Pike. It's a wonderful climb. But my legs for about 5 days afterwards, or especially day 2 afterwards, I had right jelly legs. Couldn't go down the stairs at all. It was brilliant. Oh yeah, and then guess what I did? So after my jelly legs went down, guess what I did?
I don't know. What did you
I did leg day at the gym and fucked myself up again.
There you go. No, well, you two know, and maybe some of our listeners know, I'm planning to do the Free Peak Challenge in August. And after doing Scafell Pike again, and then I looked at my itinerary, I kind of realised what I've got into. I've got to do Scafell Pike in the dark. So that's
honestly,
fun.
hats off if you could do that. That's going to be scary.
It's not. I've got to do it. So
yeah, that's going to be so scary.
I'll have a few torches. I'll be all right.
Yeah, you got to do it. I'll give you 20 quid. You did better damn well.
Yeah, I want to. But then you say that I get to do Snowdon in half dark, half light, and I get to see the sunrise. So that's
hopefully you get to see the sunrise.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. But yeah, that I guess. Yeah, we did that the other weekend.
Should we talk about the village we stayed in?
Oh gosh, like that was as bad as Preston. Oh my gosh.
Right, so we stayed in a little town called Cleator Moor, and it was basically like one long road where when we were in the middle, it was like the actual exterior of the houses weren't particularly pleasant, but when we got in, the actual flats were actually relatively decent.
Yeah, our Airbnb was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was, aesthetically quite nice. There was minor like sort of architectural structural problems, but hey ho, we can live that. Furniture wise, top notch, couldn't fault it. So day one we got there and we were like, okay, should we go on a walk just to try and find our bearings and see what's around us? And look, we spotted like a co-op coming in, so we're like, okay, let's just go walk down towards the co-op and then come back ourselves. As we were going down this co-op, there's like this allotment area.
Gosh.
Oh yeah, so you can probably tell from this description already. So there's this allotment. We can hear this dog barking. And it's quite a big allotment. There's like barbed wire and everything around there, which already raises alarm bells. So, but there's like this path going behind it. I was like, I'm going to go on an adventure. You and Priyesh were like, Brandon, don't go. But obviously, my little Bilbo Baggins brain took over. Went down to the back, and literally at the back, Dan, I need you to paraphrase what you saw with me here. It was like a beware sign.
Yeah.
It was like just an open fence, barbed wire, metal, wood, as if it's like, again, from Resident Evil, Shantytown, where not Pyramid Head, that's Silent Hill. Yeah, what's that actual villain in that deserty area in Resident Evil? The big one. Chris, you'd know.
Which one, sorry?
In one of the Resident Evil games, I can't remember which one it is, but there's like a deserty area.
Oh, Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, there's that deserty area, there's the big guy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so basically this whole allotment looked like that area from Resident Evil. And I was pretty certain there's going to be some angry farmer who looked like that Resident Evil boss. It looks so dodgy.
Did he have a giant hammer and a bag on his head?
It wouldn't surprise me if he did. It literally just looks so dodgy. You can hear chickens, you can hear this dog bark, and you can hear like these people in the allotment sounding a bit angry. And it was literally like a beware, keep out sign on this allotment. I was like, oh my God, I wish I took pictures of this. It looks so dodgy.
Sounds like more of a challenge than the mountain does.
The one thing that did make us laugh was that there was on one side of the road there was about, is it like 4 or 5 pizza takeaway places in a row, and one of them was called Mario, and it was literally had the Super Mario. It was all Super Mario. It was just like, I bet if Nintendo saw that, well, I have a field day.
I have no idea how they could get away with that. It's literally just straight up like intellectual property stealing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat so that Chris can see it. But it was hilarious. But no, we had a really good time. We got our mate to play Dark Souls 1, the tutorial, and that was great.
He beat the Asylum Demon. He did it.
Yeah.
What was it? 3rd attempt.
Yeah. We tried not to help him too much because we wanted him to find out how it all went. And
it was janky on the Switch.
It's not the best on the Switch. I must admit. I have said that before, but yes. But yeah, we had a good time. But I guess we climbed a mountain, but we also, and I guess Chris has climbed a big mountain. He's been playing Resident Evil 4. So have I. But he's platinumed it.
I have, yes. Thankfully, to get the Platinum trophy on it, it's not required that you get an S+ rank on Professional, which is insane. I'm still going to go for it at some point. It's still on my list.
A rank.
I've got S+ ranks on like the other modes, and I got an S rank on Professional.
It's S+.
Yeah, it's S+. Right. The prerequisites for that is to do it on a fresh save file, so like no New Game Plus bonuses, nothing like that. You got to do it in under 5.5 hours, which is tough, and you've got to do it with a maximum of 15 saves. And there's no auto saves. So yeah, that's a bit rough. I've got a plan of how to do that, but it's gonna be touch and go. It might require me to play through the game several times and have a few practice stabs at it. And yeah, I've played this game to death already. I've done the campaign so many times. So Resident Evil 4. I got a lot to say, but I know Dan's played it as well.
Yes, I only beat it last night. I have a busy life. I only managed to beat it last night. I guess one thing what do you think about the changes between the original and the remake?
Well, there's quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
I would say obviously it is a remake rather than a remaster, but it doesn't replace the original because it's way too different.
Yeah.
Like not even close. It's 2 separate games, near enough.
Yeah.
A lot of the areas are either new or they sort of smashed areas together to form a hybrid, and some areas are just outright missing. Couple of bits are the same, but not many.
Here's a question. There's a boss fight in the castle.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that in the original, been a couple of years since I played the original, but in the original, that boss fight is on the island, not in the castle. But in the remake, it's in the castle, and you're with Luis.
Yes, you are correct.
I thought so.
That is later on.
I was like, I swear this was on the island, not the castle.
And technically, it's not a boss fight on the original, it's a QTE sequence, and it's the worst part of the game by far because it's unskippable, and yeah, you just gotta sit through it, and if you fail, it's about 3 minutes long, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to sit there and watch it unfold. It's annoying.
Well, you think about the right thing. I'm thinking about the 2 giant fight.
Oh, no, that is in the same place.
Is it?
Yep.
I thought I was in the island, not the castle.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they definitely changed. Like they've changed a lot, and they've got there's a bit where it's like half open world, for example. In the village, there's when you're on the boat. There's the bit they've completely jigged Lewis as a character and how he fits in and where his time in the game finishes is completely different to where it is in the original. He definitely has been rewritten for the modern day. I will definitely say that. There are some lines in the original that have not aged well, and there's a special one very early on, and I was like, as soon as he didn't say it, I was like, I'm not surprised he did not say that line. So if you want to hear him say that line, you could best play the original or every other release of the original version, because it's near enough on every fucking console.
You say his lines of dialogue have changed, but they've still kept the same character. He's still got the same temperament.
Yeah, there's a particular. You might know exactly which one, but there's a particular line he says, and it's not in the remake, and I'm not surprised it's not in the remake.
Doesn't need to be. I mean,
yeah,
you can't focus on one line because pretty much everything's. A lot of the stuff's changing, like all the cutscenes.
It's one of those lines where it's like that line has not aged well.
But the whole story's like been revamped somewhat.
Yeah, I think it was of any line. It was like the one line when I think of Luis, that is the one line I remember of his character, and it's like, yeah, that line was not going to transition to the remake at all, and it didn't.
One of my favorite things about the writing the 4 remake is Louise's character.
Oh yeah,
how they've fleshed him out so much more, give him a bigger role.
Yes.
And it covers a major plot hole that's in the first one, which I bang on about every time I play
it. Which one? I think I know which one that is. Is that?
It's right at the end. I suppose it's not really a spoiler.
Wait, right at the end of the game.
Yeah. So near the end, right near the end of the game.
I'm thinking of something else.
No, in the original game, there's a machine that sort of gets rid of the last plagas, and it never made sense to me as why that's there. It's like, it's the last plagas called. Why do they have a machine on their base that gets rid of them? Why would they have that? But now they've written it in a way it makes perfect sense. So,
I also thought about how he goes out of the original. Always felt a bit off because isn't it related to Sadler? In the original, and I always felt like when it happens, I'm like, why doesn't Liam just go after Sadler straight after? But in remake, it's completely different. It's a different character, and it makes perfect sense. It feels more like, well, Liam should just go after Sadler after this bit with Louise. But now it's like, well, no, it's related. Sadler's not even there, and it's with a completely different character. You know, I think you know which bit I'm talking about without spoiling everything.
The overall the writing's better.
Yes,
like they made Ashley Graham like more capable.
Yeah,
I'd say less annoying, but I never found her annoying in the first one either.
I think it was just
a lot of people.
Her voice was like, Leon.
Oh, don't fuck up, man.
Yeah.
get good.
No, I thought I quite liked her. I thought she was fine. Definitely made her a bit more likable. She still near enough says all like she still has all the flirty lines with Leon throughout the whole game. So that's still there. That's still a thing, and
Yes, you certainly get plenty of bang for your buck with this game. It's like my first playthrough took me about 24 hours, but I really took my time combing every area. And then going back and forth, and sometimes that paid off, like big time. So it was worth doing, worth exploring. You say one chapter earlier like opens up a bit, chapter 4. That kind of is in the original. You can get in a boat and like have a look around, but it's been expanded greatly. In this version. And I kind of wish there was a little bit more of that, where it's like, oh, we can like another, just say like one more chapter where it's like massively open.
Yeah, because like even the island, once you, except for the bit up to getting towards the regenerator, the bit going up to the regenerators is the only bit you can't go back. But then once you get to the bit where you got to rescue Ashley and you got to go through all the regenerators, all of that whole section, you can like go back and forth and all that. I must say, I fucking hated the bit. I fucking hate regenerators anyway. But the bit where
bastards.
Yeah, when it's like all pitch black and then you just like turn it, you just see the leg of the regenerator move. I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake! And I know exactly.
The Iron Maidens are so much worse.
I just
so much harder.
I just fucking skip through all of them because you can find the first one, and then when you get through the next door, I was just like, oh, I can see them all. I think I tried to kill one, and then I was like, screw this. I'm just gonna open up next door and get into the next section. I can't be asked to deal with the regenerators / Iron Maidens. I hate them. They're great enemies. They're like really well designed enemies because they creep under like as they meant to. They're so annoying to kill, and you're like, oh no, but they're good in what they get you as the player to try and they put you under pressure, but they are tough to kill.
Yeah, if you're savvy enough, you don't have to kill any Iron Maidens.
No.
In fact, you only have to kill one regenerator because they hold a key item.
Yes.
Apart from that, you can skip all of them.
Yes.
The structure's kind of the same as like the original, like overall, because it's like essentially 3 long levels. It's like you got the village bit, which is like a bit more open. You can backtrack for most of it.
Yeah.
The castle, you can go back and forth because it's kind of like a long corridor when you look at the map.
Mm.
You can roll back if need be. But the island's like pretty linear. Like once you're there, it's just like, get to there. There's no real reason to go back unless you're hunting for treasures that you missed.
There's
no need to go back at all.
I couldn't get it. I didn't have the map.
I wouldn't allow that to happen. I was like, no. Even when I had the map, I was still looking around everywhere. That's why it took me so long. I've kind of know this game inside out, so I know there's a few hidden treasures that aren't on the map that the game doesn't tell you about. There's a few bits where health items respawn. Like there's a pond in the castle you can revisit, and between chapters everything respawns, but the game doesn't tell you that. So there's some new weapons. This game adds. It's added like a bowgun, which is kind of like the mine thrower if you get like explosive upgrades for it. It kind of acts like the bowgun from Code Veronica, if you know that.
The bolt gun. Bolt thrower.
Bowgun, yeah.
Yeah, I've hardly used it.
Yeah, the bows and cells are a bit crap. They do have their uses, but yeah, I didn't really go with it.
Yeah,
Apparently, you can cheese a few bosses by like Galador's by putting down like a few mines before you trigger the thing, which I haven't tried that yet, but it doesn't seem worth it.
I think what I definitely found with 4 Remake is it definitely made it a lot scarier at points. Definitely brought the survival horror back into Resi 4 because here's to break everything. Resi 4 is the only Resident Evil I've played. I think one of the reasons for that is, 1, it's not the scariest, and 2, it's basically just a fucking action game. Except for like the Ashley segment, most of Resi 4 is just an action game. The Ashley segment in the original one is about the only horror section, and they definitely brought a lot more horror into Remake in like the entirety of the game. Like even just the regenerator bit where it's all pitch black, and I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, I don't remember it being that dark in the original. It's been a while since I played the original, so maybe it was. I don't know. But, like, there were so many little sections where I was like, this is definitely scarier than it was originally. And the amount of times I had, like, no ammo or was so low was ridiculous. It definitely felt like every shot count much more than in the original.
It does, yeah. I'd say overall the difficulty has been ramped up from what it was. I felt like if I play Resi 4 on professional mode, I play that just for a chill time because I think normal mode's too easy.
Yeah, I've done all the difficulties on the original Resi 4, but even
professional mode on this one, fucking Nora. It was hard, very hard.
Like, when I think about the hardest difficulty on the original one, the only bit that I struggled with was the bit with the helicopter, because on that bit, you couldn't just rely on the helicopter. You had to push. The helicopter came with you, whereas on the other 2 difficulties, the helicopter just destroys your enemies. But on professional, it's like, no. Yeah, you got the helicopter, but you have to do the legwork. You've got to push. That helicopter's not going to do the work for you. And that's
it normally only like triggers during like set events, like
yeah,
for the most part.
But no, I definitely found Remake far harder.
Yeah, for sure. All for the better, though. I mean, I found some sections easier now I've had practice. I think it's kind of like a little, like, you got to have a sort of Dark Souls mindset, because half of it's like just knowing where enemies are.
Yeah.
Especially with certain segments when you got like stealthy enemies that like camouflage themselves. Once you know where they are, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So
I like the stealth. I liked how it brought stealth into it as well. So you didn't, at certain, like when I got to the first bit on the island, the first 3 enemies, I stealthed them. I was like, well, I can do that. And obviously there's a challenge to do that. So I was like, right, kill that one, wait until, move that device, then go here, kill that one, then go around here, kill this bowman, and then everyone appears. So there we go. Just kill them all.
Yeah, I do like what they've done with the knife system in this. Like they've kept the knife durability like Resident Evil 2, but obviously with stealth mechanics as well. You can do that, but you can't rely on that because you can only use your knife for so long. So you can't just like, oh, can I stealth the entire village? And it would be cool if you could. It'd be very, very difficult to do so. I suppose if you do it on New Game Plus and get like unlimited knife, then you might be able to. But it doesn't seem there's like any areas in the game there you can get by unnoticed. It's like at some point you're gonna have to open fire or run past something.
Yeah, it's like, I can get through maybe 2 or 3 enemies, but then you're gonna get noticed.
It's just like picking off a few off the herd before the rest come down. Just to say something, I know, really.
It's like even when literally the first bit of the game in the village, it's like you can kill 2 silently, I think, or at least 1, I think. But then then everyone comes. So however many you can kill until you're spotted.
Yeah, so the game is much more difficult, but it alleviates itself somewhat once you get your hands on the limited rocket launcher.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite bits, which the game doesn't tell you but kind of hints at, is one of the bosses super weak to eggs, but it doesn't tell you.
Which boss is that?
It's Salazar. He's weak to eggs.
I thought it might be.
There's a mission where you have to egg his portrait as a side thing, and that's kind of a clue that you can do that.
That makes it sound like the Gnome King from The Wizard of Oz too.
Well,
wouldn't know.
Eggs can be used as weapons in Resi 4.
That's fucked.
Yeah. It's funny,
Resi 4 Remake.
Funny. There's so many memes.
Yeah.
Egg.
In that room, I forgot to sit on the chair, and I'm still really pissed off that I didn't sit on the chair.
See, that's in a different part. That's on the island in the original.
That's what I thought. I thought it was on the island as well.
Although it always seemed weird because it's just like a random laser corridor and then a throne just like.
Oh yeah,
there.
the laser corridor isn't in 4 Remake.
Yeah, that whole section, because the bulldozer bit's not there. Either.
Yeah, the bulldozer bit, I think, was switched with the wrecking ball.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I prefer the bulldozer, I'll be honest. Although there is a way to kind of skip most of that wrecking ball part. By using explosives. Again, harder to do when it's professional, because I probably won't have any grenades or anything spare. I kind of want them all.
Still like that. I remember I got stuck on that room with the Red Priest in the castle, and I just and then you just throw a grenade, and then I did it, and I was like, yep.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a similar-ish room with a minigun in the original, and you can kind of skip that doing the same kind of technique.
I can't remember that room, but yeah, probably.
It's a different room, but it's like the same sort of skip is in it, but just repurposed. I was going to say something else. So a lot of changes have been made to this, but like we say, like the bits like the digger are missing. There's a boss fight missing, but I think for the most part it's done because of the tone. I think if they introduce those things, it's like, okay, this game we know it's a little bit silly, but I think if they kept them in, it's like, nah, it's kind of jumped the shark now. It's like they've kind of kept it a little bit more grounded. I mean, it's still a series about lost plagas taking over people's brains, but they tried to keep it a bit more realistic for the most part.
It's still got him going, where's everybody going? Bingo,
There'd be riots in the streets if they cut that line.
Yeah. I like how, well, once you beat the game, you can switch costume, because I'll be honest, I always prefer Leon with the jacket.
I don't really care what he wears, to be honest.
But I can actually just play the whole game with him in his jacket.
Suit of armor for Ashley, yeah, because it actually has a gameplay purpose.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Always wear that. Never take that off. Once you get it.
Because it's like all the enemies try and pick her up. It's like, hey, you ain't doing that shit.
Well, we've been talking about this for some time, but I've got very little bad to say about the 4 remake. I know some people have no, don't like it, review bombed it because people are weird, but there's no reason to. As a lifelong fan of Resi and bought the original when it came out, I still love this remake, and I'm going to play it some more at some point, probably tonight as well, because I've been talking about it for so long, and I haven't played it for a couple of days, so I'm starting to get withdrawal symptoms.
So it doesn't have separate ways. They added Mercenaries through free DLC. So Mercenaries is now on. Still not like doesn't. I really like it. You can suplex the monks still, so that's a win. I thought I would be a little bit more. I would have a few negatives, but I think like I think about this for a while, but this and Fire Emblem Engage are joint for my favourite games this year at the moment for completely different reasons.
Well, it was Hi-Fi Rush for Game of the Year, but no, this is it.
Well,
I can't see anything else topping this.
I've been hearing a lot of good things about Octopath Traveler 2, but I think the completionist in me is like I've got to finish number 1 before I play number 2. But like I really like Resi 4 Remake, but I completely agree with you. The original is a separate game, and I'll be honest, it's still so playable. Like this is a remake, but I don't think it makes the first one obsolete. I think I think people should still play the original. The original holds up so well still. Like I don't think this replaces it. I might even play the original again just because.
Oh, I sure.
Both are good. But yeah, it was great to return to Resi 4, and it's made me go, I really should play the Resident Evil games.
I've given this game high praise. I've got to give it one nitpick, just for balance. One nitpick, and it's totally random, but it annoys me. When Leon says the bingo line and it shows you the title, you've got the burning body from like beginning of the game on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And then the text, Resident Evil 4. And I just keep thinking, no, that should be the other way around. You should have the text and then the burning body on the stake, because then it will look like an exclamation mark. Resident Evil 4? It just looks wrong to me. It's like, it's the wrong side. Other than that, no, that's my only nitpick. Just that.
I think my only other nitpick is, Brandon, you should play Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, you haven't played it.
So the only Resi game I played is 8. The only Resi game I played is 8.
Yeah, 4's better.
Yeah, and I don't know why you played 8, because that's the follow-on from 7.
That's what I thought.
I just got it because it was free with the PS5.
True.
That's like saying, I've not played any Metal Gear Solid game apart from 4.
That would be the worst game to start. To be fair, I played 2 then 4, so I don't know if that is much better, but still.
At least I did them in order.
Well, I played them all now, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So Resident Evil 4, yeah, please buy it.
Good game.
Right. Give it all your money, because I want Resi 5 remake. So give it your money.
Yeah. Did it? I think, but like something like Code Veronica. Do you think they'll remake that?
There are rumors of that, and to be honest, that's the one that makes the most sense, because that's got the most missed opportunities. It's the most like weirdly unbalanced game that desperately needs a remake. I do like Veronica, but it's like one of my least favorites of the classic. Really, it is my least favorite of the classic.
What about
maybe Zero?
Resi Zero.
Yeah, I don't know. I have nitpicks with both. I hate the menu system in Zero, but I don't like a lot of the sections in Veronica, despite how the game's designed. Yeah, so I think that one definitely should be remade. Do that.
Well,
for sure.
Brandon, you've seen some stuff recently.
Yeah. So where should I begin? Should I begin with the thing we've seen together, or shall I begin with something which I saw by accident?
So do the one by accident.
Okay, so I've recently just gone through like a random phase of watching Kyle Hill on YouTube.
Okay, this wasn't actually the one I thought you were going to mention, but carry on.
Because this was by accident. So I was watching Kyle Hill on YouTube, and I was watching his Radiation series. And in particular, I was looking at, I've watched some of his vlogs of when he visited Chernobyl, which made me remember, there's that HBO series Chernobyl, which is, highly touted as one of the best series ever created. So I was like, okay, I'll want to watch this. But for some reason, I went pigeon-brained again. And my first point of call was, all right, let's Netflix it. So I then go to Netflix, type in Chernobyl, and it comes up with this thing called Chernobyl 1986. And I was like, yeah, brilliant, this has to be it. And I watch it, and I was like, it's only an hour, like just over an hour and a half long. And I was like, this isn't a series. So yeah, so I accidentally watched Chernobyl 1986, thinking I was going to be in for a TV series of Chernobyl, but it was a film. It's about one of the firefighters he worked in the same area as Chernobyl, so Pripyat, and he was going to get basically shifted over to Kiev and be like a firefighter over there. And then one day his kid is out. Well, I say his kid. Obviously, it is his kid, but his ex-wife's now sort of got ownership. Goes on a bike ride with his friends, in which case Chernobyl then explodes during during the test they were doing. So then obviously all the firefighters get called in, and said firefighter becomes a liquidator, and his son is like getting like acute radiation sickness, and his job is to be one of the liquidators to get through and open up the water release valves so everyone can get in and actually start to cool down or prevent the second steam explosion from happening. Overall, it's not amazing at all. Like the character, I mean, you've got some loving characters, like seeing like the kid like sort of steadily sort of lose himself from radiation sickness, but it does sort of, you know, obviously I can't compare it to the series because I've not seen it, but it's just nice, well, not nice, but interesting to see, you know, that immediate point of call of all the liquidators, the firefighters, the policemen, and all the military coming in to try and extinguish the flames, and just one by one just getting acute radiation sickness because ultimately they didn't know. And the reason why I sort of probably rate it as like a 3 or a 4 is purely because it is like over dramatized, and some CG aspects could be a bit better. You know, the storytelling was a bit weird in the fact that it's very rushed. It's like, I'm a firefighter. Oh, it's just blown up now. Oh, let's get to it. Oh, I'm being shifted to Kiev. It seems a bit here, there, and everywhere. But I mean, if you're looking for just a random Chernobyl-based film to watch, there's no harm in it. But ultimately, there are better things out there, like the series. So yeah, so that's how I accidentally watched a Chernobyl movie.
I can confirm the Chernobyl series is really good.
When did you watch it?
Pretty much when the year it came out.
So yeah, because my colleagues were all talking about Chernobyl because it's all over like the newspapers and everything, and I really wanted to watch it back then, but I just never got around to it. I think it's just because I was in the process of still saving up for the house and everything.
It's fantastic, as probably with the film you've watched. Like, they dramatize a lot of it. Like, there's a character, for example, who is not real. He is literally not a real person, but he is a figment of a lot of people, a lot of scientists. It's like the culmination of, it must be like, I think they said like 20 scientists, so it's just all of them accumulated in this one character. But I understand why they've did that to bring the points they needed to across, for example. Yeah, you should definitely give it a watch, Brandon.
Yeah, like I said, it's just because I didn't know where to see it, so my first point of call was, unfortunately, Netflix. And then I found it, I was like, okay. The one thing that was strange, though, is because ultimately, right, you might find this weird as well. Obviously, we watch anime. We are very used to watching, like, X-nation people speaking in X-native language, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, like, if you see a French film, I'd rather watch a French film, have it French dubbed, and have English subs. That's just my preference of how I would like to watch a film. It's like if you watch, you know, like one of the old Chinese films, like with very young Jackie Chan, like they would speak in like Mandarin, Cantonese, whatever, and then it will be dubbed. Or same for like the Bruce Lee, Jet Li films, it'll be dubbed or subbed rather. I watched it, so it's a Russian movie, but every character was English dubbed over. I mean, the English dubbing was actually it wasn't bad. Like most of the time, the voices matched up what you'd expect said person to sound like. But there was like a few times where the dubbing didn't quite match the mood of said characters. So it's like, okay, it's a bit janky there. But yeah, it actually sort of shed a light on, okay, maybe I might be able to be more accepting towards dub, but I'm still very skeptical about it.
That's a bit like Dark on Netflix, because that's a German show, and I believe the dub is a bit like that. But I know people have watched it in the dub, and they say, yeah, it doesn't match, but it's actually not that bad. It's actually watchable. I've yet to watch it, so I don't know, but I've heard that the dub isn't terrible. It's actually watchable. To be honest, I thought you were going to mention something else, not that one first, but yeah.
Which one? The other film which I went to see?
Yeah, what's that?
Well, technically, it's not even a film.
Yes.
So, me and a group of friends, we went and watched the preview? Well, I don't know what you call it. Premiere.
Yeah, well, I didn't go, but it was literally the day before it came out. So
yeah. So we went and listened to the new Metallica album in cinema, which, you know, I going into this, I didn't really know what to expect, because obviously I'm used to going into cinemas to watch movies, but I didn't really know what to expect to go into cinema to listen to an album. And, you know, overall, it was a nice experience going in, seeing all the album and everything. The actual cinema itself was actually rammed. Like, so many Metallica fans were in there. Some of the songs were great. Some of them were a bit, okay, it just still sounds like just normal Metallica, like nothing spicy. But it was nice. Like, some of the songs had music videos. Some of them just had like synth waves and what, you know, some sort of like splashy editing to make it seem nice. And then in between each song, you had James, Lars, Kirk, and Rob like basically just talk about the song.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, so in between each song, they basically spoke about each song, saying, what was their thinking going into each song. So I can literally summarize every song probably using like 5 words. Groovy, because they kept calling everything this sort of groove. Sometimes they'll call it heavy. Sometimes they'll say jam or the bass, or they would just use like certain words, but all the time it was groovy. And I just couldn't help. But every time Kirk Hammett came onto the TV, I was like, what the fuck is his eyes looking at? I don't know why, but he just seemed off his face when recording this. Like, he would be talking, he'd be like looking off screen, he'd be looking at the camera, then his like eyes would do like a 360 degrees loop. And I was like, what the fuck are his eyes doing? Like, I spent more time trying to follow his eyes than I was actually listening to what he was doing. But yeah, it was nice. Bit cringy at times with how they were behaving, but it was a nice experience just going into it and just listening to an album, because quite often, like you're yourself, Dan, you're probably like the best candidate for this. When you listen to an album just by yourself on Spotify in your headphones or through speakers, it's quite just a routine thing. Whereas if you go to like an event with a group of people who have never heard these soundtracks before, it's sort of nice seeing everyone's reactions to it. So after every song, there's a guy sat behind me, and all you could hear is this. He was like, whoa, like that. So he was like really happy after every song. And then so everyone was just happy. Then everyone did like an applause throughout the songs as well. I was like, we just listened to a TV. They're not going to hear us applauding, but to each their own. There's no point. Personally, I don't see the point in applauding because no one's going to hear it. Oh yeah, this is another thing, Dan. This really confused me. Chris, you'll know this as well. So anytime you go into a cinema, they always tell you, make sure to have all of your devices turned off or on silent. They tell you not to bring in, not to use phones or anything during a cinema, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what was the first 30 seconds of the film? Scan this QR code now and do this and this. I was like, hang on a minute. You just literally gave us an advert before this to tell us not to use our phones. And the first thing they're doing is telling us to use our phones.
Oh, they do that a lot.
Yeah, I just thought that was just really weird. The fact they're like, don't use your phones, but scan this QR code to find out more.
Yeah, if you want to know more about Showcase Cinema, just go into your phone and type in this in. Yeah, go into your app and do this.
Yeah.
I've got to ask, because I'm a very big Metallica fan. I've got it tattooed on me and everything. I actually haven't listened to 72 Seasons yet. I've just not got around to it. How do you rate it compared to all the other ones? Because the general thing I've seen is like pretty much 6 out of 10. Said it's fairly repetitive. It's not bad by any stretch, but it's just chugs along. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably be of a similar opinion like that.
Yeah.
Like listening to it, for me, unlike older Metallica songs, there doesn't seem to be a song which stands out and sort of grabs you. Like if you listen to old Metallica songs, like if you listen to like Ride the Lightning album, you're just like, oh. If you listen to Kill 'Em All, you're like, oh. Like there's quite like, Unga Bunga brains start to take over when you listen to some of these older Metallica albums. But I'd probably sort of, like, if I was to compare it to something like Death Magnetica, because I think that's something which I could possibly compare it to. You've got some songs in there which have their own style within it. But again, it is quite a repetitive soundtrack throughout. But there are certain elements in some songs which would be actually quite nice to hear live. So there's one of the songs where James is like, Temptation. So I can imagine that being quite good live, because like Temptation. So that could be because they said it in like the briefing between the songs, like, we wrote this song wanting it to be an anthem when live. So you can see they're thinking going into it, but most of the time, from what I gathered, they were just making soundtracks about, yeah, that sounds good, let's do it. There wasn't really much thinking. It was like, that sounds groovy, let's do it. That sounds good, let's do it. But I suppose like the bigger bands, they don't really put overly too much more emotion into it. Like, I still love Metallica. Like I'm going to download to see them twice. So yeah, I'll be able to get more of a firm opinion of when I do see it live, what it's going to feel like when they play some of these songs. Also, at the cinema, the guy sat behind us were having an absolute sesh. When the cinema finished and the lights came back on, I turned around, it's like 10 cans of Strongbow on the floor and like a bunch of popcorn. I was like, fucking hell. It's like they've actually turned it into a sesh.
Well, yeah, I listened to the album Friday morning. As I said to my mate, it has a concept album feel.
Yeah, that's because it is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so the reason why it's called 72 Seasons is because that's the same as 18 years.
Yes.
So they've wrote it thinking this is meant to take you on that journey from like birth to adulthood.
Okay. No,
Also, it's 72 minutes long.
But the film was 77 minutes long, so they lied.
well,
Credits.
no, I'd probably say near enough exactly the same as you, Brandon. I enjoyed it, but it's probably like middle of the pack of like Metallica albums for me. I think Hardwired was better. I think Hardwired has like more songs that I could pick out. I still think like one of the best Metallica songs in like the past in a long while is like Spit Out the Bone, for example.
Spit Out the Bone's insane. That's such a good song.
Or like All Nightmare Long from Death Magnetic. Like those two are like two of my favourites since they're like kind of resurgence from everyone's favourite album, Saint Anger.
The Dustbin album. The Dustbin Lid album.
Although both of us have both seen Frantic live, and that was incredible. So
I know none of us were expecting that, were we?
Well, no. They confirmed that they were playing a Saint Anger song, and me and our mate, we both wanted Frantic, and they played Frantic, and both of us were just like, "Fuck yes, here we go!"
I was so happy about Frantic, just mainly because of Guitar Hero Metallica. That's the main reason I was so happy.
I went on that tour and seen them 2 nights running, so I was seeing like the entire album. I have no regrets. It was great.
Yeah. No, I'll be giving 72 Seasons another listen, but as you say, maybe it needs more time in the can for the songs to grow. But yeah.
Well, I've literally just bought it now on Amazon while you were chatting on my phone.
Did we sell
I was like, oh yeah, I need to do that. I was like, I forgot to get that.
Well, the day after, Brandon went to the film cinema again, but he didn't go alone again.
I've not seen this many films in a long time.
He went with me and our mate who we did Scafell Pike with. The three of us went to see an anime film. We went to see the latest Makoto Shinkai film. I've not actually spoken about Makoto Shinkai on the podcast. I don't think I have, but yeah, I've seen the last 4 films he's done, and so yeah, his latest one we went to see, and it's called Suzume. This is my second favorite Makoto Shinkai film. I know you really liked it as well, Brandon.
Yeah, I did enjoy it.
So I guess how would you describe this film?
I would describe it as your generic anime trope of girl meets guy by accident, instantly falls in love, goes on a random adventure with them, beating the baddies, and then magically gets together even though they've known each other for a week.
Yeah.
That basically summarizes Suzume.
Yeah. Wait, to be honest, when you say it like that, I'm like, it's not actually doesn't sound that great, does it? But to be fair, all the Makoto Shinkai films are basically that. Well, the last 4 of them, including Suzume, are pretty much that. I would say the first one, it was the second one I watched, but the last 4 have been. I've not watched his earlier stuff, so I need to have a look. But I would say Garden of Words is a bit more. That isn't just boy meets girl. There is like it like goes over a good period of time over the course of the film. Or it's more like a short film because it's only an hour. It's not an hour and a half or 2 hours, where it does develop both characters knowing each other. And to be fair, even Your Name does. But like Weathering with You and Suzume are a bit more. They kind of fall in love a bit quite quickly. But especially Suzume is a bit like, as you say, it's kind of like a couple days, and then next minute it's like, I'm gonna go back to my hometown to rescue this guy I've hardly known. But
yeah, it's just one of those tropes which I'm just like, for fuck's sake, not again. But the comedy in it was very nice. It was very subtle comedy. I heard you laugh out loud a couple times. The music in it was quite nice.
Oh, the music was incredible.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know what it was, but just summarize it. The whole purpose of this, or the whole sort of theme of this, is there are these like abandoned doors throughout Japan, and there are these like groups of people called closers, which is their job to close these doors, because what happens is when these doors open, a sort of abyssal worm comes out, which comes out of the out the door, which no one knows where this worm came from. It's one of my gripes
No.
about it.
Yeah.
So this
That
worm
sounds like the
comes out.
sandworm from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's just like we don't know where this worm comes from. It just comes out this door, and then what this worm does, it just basically stands sort of erectifies into the
It does.
into the air. It literally does. I'm not joking. So it erectifies and then basically just slams down onto the earth, creating an earthquake. As ultimately, that's all we know about this worm. Considering how big of a, it's meant to be the big bad, but that's all it does. We don't know anything else about this worm, which is, again, just slightly gripe that we don't know much about it. But hey, I love the sound effect of when this worm is moving and dropping. I just love that, that deep sound it makes. It's so good. Also, Daijin's a cunt.
Oh, there's a character called Daijin. Yeah, I think all three of us like, oh, fuck this character.
Because again, it's just one of these anime or tropes in general where it's just like, I'm going to guide you to the end, but I'm not going to tell you why. And it's just like, you're doing the right thing, but you're just pissing everyone off. If you just communicate to us why you're being an asshole, why you're doing the things you're doing, maybe we'd have more sympathy for you. But, you just turn into this asshole, showing us all these doors, running around. Yeah, such an asshole. And then the other guy, Sadaijin, comes in, just randomly, but reading between the lines, I think I understand why Sadaijin did what he did to MILF Auntie.
We should point out these Daijin and Sadaijin are two like mystical cats. They're not people, but yes.
So quite often in Japanese culture, obviously gods are quite associated with things. So like a lot of the time, like the Nekomata, you'll see like the Nekomata things. That waving cat. You'll see them quite a lot in like Asian like places. Because it's just one of those things about like the Nekomata. So the cats hold quite a bit like spiritual value. So these two gods have taken on the form of a white cat and a black cat. Daijin is the white cat and Sadaijin is the black cat. And there's this part where Sadaijin, what?
Just carry on.
There's a part where Sadaijin takes over the aunt, and basically the aunt's like, I wish I never adopted you. I wish I never did this. But I could sort of, reflecting on it, I can see why said cat did it. It's to sort of break that sort of rift between them and bring the aunt and Suzume closer. So I could sort of understand that. Daijin just had no excuses. He was just a cunt. I'm just going to put it bluntly. Overall, I'd give it somewhere between an 8 and a 9.
Yeah,
probably close to the 9 side, purely because of my gripes of they don't really flesh out a lot of the missing information of like, what is this worm and where did it come from? Just contextually wise, just give us more information about what it is and why it's there. Because it's just a worm, a CGI worm, which turns into a flower. I don't know what it is. It's when it starts off as a worm, there's like this worm has multiple heads. And it's just getting a bit confusing. And the fact that the relationships build too quickly. Like, I understand it's a film and they want to try and cram as much as they can in like a minute and or in an hour and a half or 2 hours. But you know that old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. Surely a relationship can't be built in a week. I mean, yeah, I can understand they're like 16 years old. I remember being a 16-year-old. I could just see someone and be like, "Oh, I'm in a crush now."
Well, she is.
But that's literally what happened.
Yeah, she is. But the other guy, he's like 18 or something.
Yeah, he's at university.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can sort of guess, that at that age, people are more like love at first sight. So I can somewhat understand it, but just please, no. Just, I've had enough of that trope.
No, I enjoyed it, but I think Your Name is still better, and you should watch that, Brandon. If you like Suzume, you should watch Your Name. It is on Netflix, if I remember. It might not
it
be.
is.
Yeah, if you watch Your Name, that's better. I think Garden of Words is on Netflix as well. So there's 2 Makoto Shinkai films that are both on Netflix. There you go.
I'll definitely have to add it to my watch list.
I think Weathering With You is on Amazon, but you got to pay, which I don't think is as
That
good
makes no
as...
sense.
Oh, it's Amazon. But you watched a video game film, Chris.
I did. In fact, I've watched it twice because I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I thought I didn't know you watched it twice.
Yeah, I only watched it the other day. So I had a bit of spare time over the Easter holidays, and I thought it was a film that the parents might like. And I was correct; they both really liked it. It was a good call. So I very, very quickly mentioned at the end of the last podcast that I saw the Tetris movie, and I said it was good, and yes, it is. So the Tetris movie was something that was kicked around years ago, and everyone was like, "What? We're gonna get like a sort of CGI Angry Birds type thing, but with like Tetris pieces, which certainly would have been a project, but
Yeah.
that's not what the film is. The film is based on the true story of how Tetris came to be and focuses on its creator, Alexei. I'm going to butcher his last name. Pachinov. I think it's Pachinov, Alexei Pachinov, and the guy who's like getting the rights to sell it on arcade, console, PC, Hank Rogers, who works at Bulletproof Software. And yeah, because Tetris was invented in Russia, and this is the 80s, so communism was big. Well, it was the law. Essentially, Tetris belonged to the state and not Alexei, so he kind of got screwed over his own game. But Hank Rogers is trying to do the right thing, make sure he gets his due, and throughout the whole thing, there's like a constant fighting like going on as to who owns the rights, because there's a big brand called Microsoft involved, who were the big company that was run by I've got a brain fart, I've forgotten the name. Robert Maxwell and his son Kevin Maxwell, who if you don't know, like the real life billionaire tycoons. Robert Maxwell, you're unaware, disappeared under mysterious circumstances and basically robbed his own company by taking money out of pension funds. Which, of course, all of this is like brought up in the film as well, as they're kind of like antagonists, and in real life, yeah, there were. You've also got the KGB involved, who are also like antagonists in the film. One of the characters is named, and he kind of is built up to be like a villain, I suppose, which you can kind of tell is more for Hollywood, like, because they've amped it up a bit. But apparently there was someone in real life with like the same name, but they didn't actually have any involvement with what was going on. It's just someone in the Communist Party with the head of the KGB with the same name, but they've taken some creative liberties with it. But surprisingly, Hank Rogers and Alexei are the executive producers on this film, so a lot of it is real. And for what it is, it's very entertaining. If you've ever seen a film like, The Founder, you've seen that one with Michael Keaton, about how McDonald's got started? It's got a similar sort of vibe to it. I highly recommend that one as well. I think that's on Amazon. You can watch that right now. That's pretty good too. So yeah, first thing I did when I watched this film is I have an original copy of Tetris for the Game Boy, and I went and got it, looked at the back of the box, and lo and behold, it's got all these names that are mentioned in the film. It's like, oh shit. It just makes you look at like credits in like manuals and back of the boxes like a bit more. It's like there's a story behind that little sentence. But yeah, I thought it was massively entertaining. It is a film that I believe is on Apple Plus. The same one that Finch was on that I mentioned a little while back.
Yes.
So watch it any way you can, because it's a good time. It's about 2 hours long, just shy of 2 hours, but it's well worth it. And as I say, if you think, I'm not sure, this might be a bit boring, they do plenty to amp it up. Of course, it's got good casting in it, because it's got Taron Egerton and Toby Jones in it, who are very entertaining to watch. And there's something that could have essentially just been like a courtroom drama. It doesn't work that way at all. There's plenty going on. It's got the introduction of like the Game Boy. If you know your computing history, it mentions rights between Sega and Nintendo, including they bring up the Microsoft version of Tetris, which, if you're unaware, is a version of Tetris which was on the Mega Drive, and they did that without having the rights. So therefore, it's one of the most expensive games, rarest games ever, because it was only on sale for like a couple of days before it got pulled for that reason, and that's brought up as a plot point in the film. So if you want to know a bit about game history and how we kind of came out the slump of like the video game crash of like 83, this is a good insight into it all. Yeah, some of it's romanticized a bit, some of it like clearly didn't happen, like there's a car chase in it. He's like, yeah, I don't think that happened. It'd be cool if it did, but I don't think that did. But they make the character of like Hank Rogers, who's like the main character that we focus on, they make him likable. You can see what he's trying to do. Obviously it's like the real life struggles, like he's determined to get like the right sorted, because he's kind of like taken a loan on the bank and like his house is on the line, so he's got to do it. I don't know how much of that is true. It might be. His business decisions are weird, funky, especially in the 80s with communist Russia. But yeah, it was massively entertaining, and as I watched it again, and it was just as entertaining the second time round. And it was nice watching it with the folks, because they kept pointing out things, because they're a bit older than me. It was like, they're like, oh yeah, we remember Robert Maxwell. What a bastard. Yeah, Tetris, watch it. It's good.
Well,
the end.
Yeah, I did watch another film. I've watched another two films, but we'll see. I watched the D&D film that came out the other week. That was a fun time. It was just what you probably expect from a fantasy film. It was funny. It was adventurous. It had a lot of nods to obviously Dungeons and Dragons, and it was a good time. Yeah. There was a few things that I know I probably got that I think the general people wouldn't get, but it was a fun time. Yeah, it was I don't really know what to say. It was fun.
See, I want to know a bit more about this one because I've not had a chance to see it. But everyone I know has seen it, said it's like pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't really see anyone talking about it. I think it's probably unfortunate that it's come out like the same time as the Mario movie and it's been completely overshadowed.
I've seen the Mario film as well, and I'll be honest, I think the Mario film is better. But like the D&D film is still really fun, and like I don't know. I think it's not like some of the. To be fair, if I had to put the negative, the CGI isn't the best, and sometimes when they do some of the other races, they look quite uncanny in the film, especially like the bird races. They look really weird. Even the Dragonborns look a bit off, but other than that, like they definitely capture druids. The druid class in D&D, that's captured. It's probably like the everything with the druid is like the best. Some of the best bits in the film. The druid character is fantastic. She became my favorite character. I'm a little bit biased because I played D&D myself, and I'm a druid as well. So my character's a druid, so I think I'm a little bit biased. But no, it was good. Chris Pine was Chris Pine. You know what you're gonna expect from him, really. Yeah, I knew who was like the bad guy pretty quickly because I listened to a D&D podcast and they were like, oh yeah, this guy's playing the bad guy. So I was like, right, I know he's gonna do something, and yep, there we go. No, I had a really good time. I think if you know D&D, you probably get a bit more of a kick out of it. Like, there's like certain things that are just like, oh, that's taking the piss out of this rule set that kind of doesn't really make sense. Like, there's like for example, there's a spell that is just played up for laughs, but it kind of doesn't really make much sense on like the big screen. But then obviously when you're playing D&D, it's really useful. You're like, well, I want to get some information, I can do this spell and do that. But then on the big screen, it's all for laughs, and it's funny, but it's it also kind of doesn't make sense of like, why don't it be just this? Why, what this? Yeah, it's a fun fantasy film. I think, yeah, you'll have if you go see it, you'll have fun. I don't really know what to say. Yeah.
Another film I've seen today, actually, because I thought I need to watch something else for the podcast because I ain't seen much. I went on Netflix and seen the film A Quiet Place 2 has been added, and I quite like the first one. I thought it was pretty decent. And the second one's very similar. Have you seen the first one?
Nope, I have not seen any of them.
Okay. Well,
I want to.
As far as like horror things go, yeah, it's pretty good. I'd say it's more of a thriller. It's got like alien monsters in it, but I wouldn't really say it's like horrifying or anything. Kind of more actiony, thriller-ish, survival-ish. The weird little pigeonhole to put it in. I quite like the first one. It's like what if the aliens are like lickers from Resident Evil, essentially, because they're all blind and rely on sight. So like everyone's being quiet. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward film. The second one shows you like a bit of a prequel, like what happened like on like the day like these aliens sort of landed, and then it catches up to like present day to where the first film finished off, carrying on from there. Solid acting all round. Got Emily Blunt starring in it. It's got oh Christ, who plays the Scarecrow in Batman Begins? It's on the tip of my brain.
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, yes, he's in the sequel.
Is he?
Yes, he is. He wasn't in the first one, but in the prequel bit of this film, he's like established to be a friend of the family, and then he's essentially taken over as like one of the main cast from like the first film.
I didn't actually know he was in the film.
Yeah, I'd say Emily Blunt is in it. It's John. First one is, I'm going to butcher his surname as well.
John
chap from The Office. John Krasinski.
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. Yeah, he's in it, and He's like the main character in the first one, and he's in it for the second one, but not all that much. He's kind of replaced by Cillian Murphy due to reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a decent film. It ends pretty abruptly. I mean, it ends fine. It's like, oh, it's done it. But it is only an hour and 40 minutes, which I know for a horror film that's pretty standard. But it did fly by. And like the first film, I like what they do with the sound design. Well, because one of the characters is deaf, so like every time like you're in their shoes, there's like complete silence. It's like chaos is like breaking out, and then it like cuts to like them sort of whatever they're doing, and it's just complete dead silence. And it might catch you off like the first time you do it, because you think, is my TV okay? Did my TV just stop working? No, that's bad design. But it caught me off guard as well watching the second one. It's like, oh yeah, they did that in the first one as well. Yeah, it's decent, but like you with like Dungeons and Dragons, there's not much more I can say about it. It's like, yeah, if you want to have a flick for like, and you like the first one and quite little story for like an hour and 40, you can do far worse, and I do recommend it. It's just I probably won't remember it that much. It might be one of these films I forget I've watched in like 6 months' time.
Yeah, that's what I'm like probably gonna think a bit for like D&D. Like I really enjoyed it, but that I was like, I don't know, I might forget that it kind of exists in a weird way, which is like the complete opposite to. Cause I did mention I've seen the Mario film, and I really enjoyed Mario film. Like I went like the day after we came back from Scafell, and I see it's Illumination. Illumination are Illumination. They have their usual bag of tricks, and they deployed all of them in the film. I'm not gonna lie. They have pop songs that you're like, well, yeah, whatever. They did a whole load of other stuff. But then, when it was a Mario film, when it was Nintendo, I'll be honest, I had a smile on my face constantly. And I'll be honest, it's probably my favourite film I've seen this year. I loved it. Well, Suzume is a 2022 film, so I'm not counting that. The Mario film is, I will say, is chocked full of Easter eggs. Like, it's ridiculous. Like the first like section where it's setting up all the characters, it's just there's like scenes where it's just like, oh, there's that reference, there's that. It's ridiculous, and it's a bit like that kind of near the start, especially. It's very filled with references, and then kind of peters out where it as it develops other things. But I really enjoyed it. Yeah, okay, the voice cast probably isn't what I'd personally pick, but I kind of didn't really care by the end. I think there was a few moments where I was like, yeah, I can't picture. I don't picture Bowser right now. I'm picturing Jack Black, because like there's a bit where Bowser literally does a Tenacious D song, for example. So, but other than that, like other than like those things with like some of the voice actors, I really enjoyed the film. The story is probably what you expect. It's not the most complex thing. But I really liked it. There was it brought a lot of smile, a lot of happiness, and it referenced so many different Nintendo franchises, so many aspects of Mario, and yeah, I'd happily watch it again, personally. One of my favourite little anecdotes I've seen about the Mario film is, I think it was Chris Stuckman on YouTube, movie reviewer. Yes, I'm aware of him. Yeah. He said like this little anecdote. It's not actually about the film. It's like what happens before, where you got like a little minions in like a Mario Kart. Oh yeah. He said like when he went to see the film, it was like everyone saw that and everyone started booing. He was like, oh, I have some faith in humanity. Like everyone's sick of these little bastards. I think it put a lot of people on edge, because they've seen it. It's like, oh no, please don't be like this for the rest of the film. Yeah, like when it's not being Illuminations, it's really good. Like, and I would say it's more Nintendo than Illumination. Like, it looks like animation-wise, it looks fantastic. I cannot put it down on any points for animation. It is one of the best looking animated films I've ever seen in recent years from an American company. Although yes, the animators are mostly French, but you know what I mean. Like
Mm.
it looks incredible, and yeah, there was a lot for definitely someone who's nearly 30 who's played a lot of Nintendo. There was a lot of references that I got. And I know there was a lot of references that kids of like 5 is just gonna go right over their heads. For example, it's got like Kid Icarus in the film, kind of, and I knew, like, I was like, oh, it's Kid Icarus, but like that's gonna go over so many people's heads. Even a lot of people who know Mario, they're not gonna know what the hell that Kid Icarus bit is. That's not even like, I'm not saying Kid Icarus, the character is in the film, by the way, but there's a Kid Icarus bit. If you see the film, you'll know. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's Kid Icarus. There you go. But yeah, it's I really enjoyed it. It's just chock full of references and Easter eggs, but there's still a lot of heart to the story. And the music, I listened to the soundtrack the other day. The music is incredible when it's the actual soundtrack. When there's the pop songs bits, I take it or leave it. They were good songs, but I don't need them in this film. Like, it's got.
Funny you should say that, because one of the biggest criticisms I see in this film are like the music choices. Is like, why are they there? They seem like
that's
very
what I mean.
randomly put in.
Like when it's being when it's being doing the Mario music, it's incredible, and then it just puts in "Take on Me" by Aha. It's like, why? Why do we need this?
That sounds a bit out of play.
Why do like? Apparently, the reason why is when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out in America, "Take on Me" was #1. So that's why that song's in the film. But it also, like, why? And the scene that it plays is just the weirdest bit. It's just like, why are you playing this here? And
You know why? Solar Illumination can release a music inspired by the film like type album they can sell.
yeah, probably.
Definitely.
It's just yeah. But I guess other than that, like, I really enjoyed the film. But yeah, I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but when it's being Nintendo, I don't really have many complaints. But when it's being Illuminations, it's more take it or leave it. But I say the good outweighs the bad. But you know,
Yeah, I think because it is Nintendo, they are very, very protective and controlling of their property, just like in the Tetris film, oddly enough. So I imagine Illumination have had to pull their socks up big time.
like I saw someone who put a YouTube video out on rating all the Illumination films, and I know he put the Mario film at #2. So yeah, that kind of tells you how good it is as a Illumination film compared
What
to
was
everything
#1?
else.
You know,
I believe he put, obviously it's all subjective, but he put Secret Life of Pets 2, I believe.
okay.
I've not seen either of them, so I don't know. But I believe
I would have. I haven't even seen it, and I'd have put Mario top and everything else in the bin.
Yeah, like I've seen too many Illumination films to that I'm not. Yeah, I've seen more than I'd like to than I think I have. I think I can't even put. I need 2 hands to say how many Illumination films I've seen, and yeah, Mario's the top easily. Like, there's no competition. And I think the last one, the one that's bottom, is probably Grinch.
Really?
Yeah, and then all the Despicable Me's are kind of joint all together because, yeah, you know. But yeah, I have watched one last thing. I watched an anime called Megalobox. I put this in the category of anime that Chris would watch and enjoy.
Sure about that?
Yeah.
Go on.
There's 2 seasons of this anime. The first season, so Megalobox is about basically kind of like it's about boxing, but it's why it's called Megalobox is megaloboxing is meant. It's kind of like prosthetic limb kind of thing, or like equipment that you use to box. In some ways, it kind of makes no sense because I'm like, why are you basically wearing equipment to make your punches stronger? But then
if it's what I'm looking at, they wear metal exoskeletons called gears.
That is what it is. And I would say the first season kind of isn't. Both seasons are really good. The second season is amazing, but the first season is your standard. It's kind of your standard underdog story. it's essentially Rocky 1 and 2. Like, that is basically what Season 1 is. Characters are good, action is good. Yeah. Season 1 is bog standard, underdog story, quite very shonen anime. It's not too, like, it's really good, but you've probably seen if you watched anime or seen enough stuff like Rocky 1 and 2, you kind of know exactly what you're getting. Like, there's going to be not really much, no surprises. Like, just saying it's like Rocky 1 and 2, you probably could lay down all the plot points for Season 1 there right now. It's not really going to surprise you. It's a really good ride, but it's Season 2. Season 2 is why I've cried twice or 2 or 3 times while watching it. It is incredible. It takes... I've not watched, except for Rocky 1, I've not really watched any of a Rocky, so I don't know if a later Rocky is like Megalobox Season 2. It might be, it might not be, I don't know. But like, Megalobox Season 2 kind of takes where the first season ends, and it's like 5 years later, and it just turns everything upside down from what you think of what a Season 2 of the should be, and it's just not. And it's this really interesting kind of redemption story, and coming to terms with things in life, and not just for like the main character, for like so many characters. And it was really deep, and I did not expect that, and it was fantastic. Yeah, I would, like I said, I kind of don't really want to spoil much of Season 2 because it's that good. But like I said, I cried quite a few times, at least 2 or 3 times while watching Season 2, and I definitely recommend it. The soundtrack for both seasons are sensational. Like I've had both soundtracks on quite a bit recently, but the first season, the amount of songs that get repeated in the episodes, so I was going through the soundtrack, I was like, oh, it's this song, oh, it's this one, oh, it's this one, oh, it's this one, oh, I remember this when it played here. Like, whereas like the second season, it just builds the atmosphere, and it's different but as good. And it's like, it feels 2 seasons that just feel like a complete package. And yeah, as I say, I definitely put it in the group of anime that I've watched where I feel I could comfortably go to you, Chris, as I am now, and say, if you watch this, you're going to enjoy it. There's no stupid tropes of a female character doing whatever. There's no fan service. There's no whatever. It's doing a serious story. Yeah, it's in Japanese animation, but it's doing a mostly a realistic story. It's quite serious. Yeah, there's still some jokes in that, but it's good. I group it with like Vinland Saga as well. I spoke about Vinland Saga before, but I group it with that. It's great. So yeah.
Tell you what, you mentioned Rocky, and all I can think about is the bit from The Simpsons where Bart goes, "Oh, Rocky 2 and Rocky 5 makes Rocky 7, Adrian's Revenge." All I can think of. Yeah, it's a hard sell to me because
I know.
I've seen the boxing. I was like, I have zero interest in.
Yeah.
Maybe if you say like, oh, there's no like tropes and they haven't got like little cutesy annoying things, and maybe that's bonus points in my book.
I'll say the only thing in Season 1 is it has a little kid who might be a little annoying at the beginning, but once he develops, it's like, nah, he's a great character. And seeing where he goes in Season 2, he's like one of the best characters. So yeah, I'm not expecting you to come back and be like next episode and be like, oh yeah, I watched it, but I would definitely recommend it more. I as Brandon knows, I watch so much fucking anime, and when I find one that I'd be like, I think I could sell it to you, I feel quite good. I think it's quite good. So yeah, although Vinland Saga is still like top of anime I would sell to you. Oh, Vinland Saga is so good. But yes,
good times. Wow.
Is there
anything else? Yeah, snap.
Yeah.
I'm all spent.
I know. Yeah, I don't have much more. I've got nothing.
No, I think then that is it for this week's episode. So I suppose we could just say thank you everyone who's been listening to us. We hope you've enjoyed the 50th episode with Weldy, because I know we had a great time recording it and he did as well. He's excited.
Talking about Weldy was great. Hi Weldy, if you're listening.
Let's be listening.
He is. He's mowing his lawn and he's having a good old time.
Happy days. Yes, so well, I guess we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks' time, where see what happens in 2 weeks' time.
Well,
I've got nothing planned apart from more Resi 4 in my future.
Yeah.
I'm going to live stream a speed run of Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories just so you can see how much bullshit it is.
Oh, good luck with that.
I look forward to doing it. I want to take it. I want to at least. Obviously, I don't exactly know how to do the time stamping stuff. I don't know if I have to do like fancy OBS stuff to do that. I'll figure it out.
I know I've got a couple of games I'll be talking about next episode because at the time of recording, Advance Wars Remake comes out this week, and I've just started a new game today, just before we recorded. So I'll see if I can complete that, and I'll be talking about that hopefully next session. We'll see. But yeah. Other than that, I believe you know our social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Are we on what's it called? TikTok? I don't know. Are we?
No, I do the odd post like saying, "Oh, we got a new episode out on Hanky Rambles," but that's it.
Follow these two on their social media: Twitter, Chris's TikTok, Instagram, on their Twitches.
All of the things. Just go and Google, type my name and type Cy Parker and just hit the follow button and everything that pops up.
Follow us on the internet, but not in real life.
Actually,
What?
I actually have a question for you two. I thought about this. Before one last thing, I've got a Twitch question for you two.
Oh, go on.
If you could do a subathon, would you do it?
Yes.
No.
Well, and that's been episode 51.
I want to know why now. What's brought this on?
Oh no, I've been watching someone who's doing a subathon at the moment. I just thought, I thought I'd just ask you two if you would do one.
Yeah, I've got that many followers and subs that if I did a subathon, I'd be done in 10 minutes. It's the shortest subathon ever.
I meant just like if you had, if you could and had a lot of like as many followers as the person I've been watching, who's got like, I think when I was watching him yesterday, he had like 3,000. It's just like if you had as many as that, would you do a subathon?
I'd do it, but I'd hope that it wouldn't get as bad as what happened to Ludwig, though. Because if I was to do a 31-day subathon, I'd be in trouble.
That's Ludwig for you. He's massive.
But he was only I think he mainly got big because of the subathon, because I think he was getting like plus 7 minutes for every sub. But he did it for 31 days. Yep. I mean, even Sea Dog, he did a subathon, but I don't think he got anywhere close to Ludwig.
No, I think the person who did as big was probably Iron Mouse. I think.
I'm surprised her PC could survive. Like, imagine all that CG generating, having to keep her avatar alive.
Yeah, I know. Like even I think it was like even connected while she was sleeping.
Yeah, but if she's just an avatar, she couldn't really care what she looks like. But I suppose if you're doing a live stream for like 30 days, that at any point during those 30 days, your avatar could just disappear and you just see some girl just there by the computer. Like, that's the real Iron Mouse. It's actually a dude called Keith.
I don't think I think she's like clever enough that wouldn't happen. But
yeah. They're smarter now.
Yeah. Whereas the guy I've been watching, he lives in Japan, so when I came back from work, he was just sleeping. I was like, all right, I guess I got nothing. But then he's been playing Resi 4, so I was like watching him play, getting towards the end. He was like only half an hour ahead of me. I was like, oh, so but I think he's beating it now anyway. But yeah, guys. Anyway, that was just one last question. Right, I think that's it. So, thanks for listening, and you'll hear us soon. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye.